Hello, I am Ruby Falconer. Today's date is September 7th, 2020, and this is an astrological update for the upcoming week from the perspective of Shamanic Egyptian Astrology. We've had a couple of shifts in the last few days. Yesterday, September 6th, Venus moved into the fire sign Leo. Venus will remain in Leo until October 2nd. And the previous day, on Saturday, September 5th, Mercury moved into the air sign Libra. And Mercury will be in Libra until September 27th. However, Mercury will be coming back to Libra. What's going to happen is Mercury will move into Scorpio on September 27th, but then in October, Mercury is going to turn retrograde and will retrograde back into Libra at the end of October. And twice at the end of September and also at the beginning of November, Mercury is going to be in a challenging relationship to the great shift planets. And on November 3rd, which is Election Day in the United States, Mercury will turn direct in a square to Saturn, as well as being square to Jupiter and Pluto. So we've got some intense energy upcoming with Mercury. Mercury's the planet of communication. It's Thoth, the sacred scribe in the Egyptian pantheon. Libra is the sign of relationships. It likes harmony, doesn't like arguments. However, it's going to be hard to avoid them during this time. In the Egyptian pantheon, Libra is associated with Ma'at, who is the goddess of balance, truth, and justice. So we can certainly strive within ourselves to find balance, truth, and justice, but it is going to be challenging with Mercury being in twice at the end of September and also the beginning of November in a challenging relationship to the great shift planets. So this energy that is held by these planets, this continual breaking down and transformation of the container of society as we have known it, the dismantling of that container, that's going to, if anything, is going to be amplified in the next 2 months. Adding to this process, and really an indication that things are going to really be picking up speed around this. And I know, I say this and people are like, well, it's already so intense. How can it get any more intense? It can, and it most likely will. We have Mars slowing to station. Now, Mars is in his own sign. Those of you who've been listening to my videos, you've heard me talk about Mars. This is Set, the warrior king, in his own sign, that's Aries. And he's been slowly slowing down now, and he's been over the last month moving into relationship to all three of the great shift planets. And so the intensity, the increase in intensity that we've been seeing over the last few weeks has a lot to do with Mars moving in relationship to these three planets. And so the intensity around the civil unrest that's taking place, the arguments and discussions around the Black Lives Matter issues, systemic racism, the election issues that are taking place in the United States, all of this, along with the COVID-19 stuff, all of the many, many things that we're all dealing with, both here in the United States as well as around the world. This is a reflection of Mars moving very slowly now and moving in relationship to the great shift planets. Mars will be turning retrograde on Wednesday, September 9th. And at that point, it's going to start backing up. It's already past all three of the planets, and now it's going to move back in relationship to all of them in a retrograde process. And then Mars will turn direct on November 13th. So we're going to have for the next couple of months the warrior king in active relationship to Jupiter, Saturn, and Pluto. Now, also this week, to kind of add to the intensity, this is going to be an important week for all of us. We have Jupiter also slowing to station. Jupiter is going to be turning direct, and that will take place on Saturday, September 12th. Jupiter is the first of the great shift planets to turn direct. All three of them are retrograde now. Over the next 3 weeks, the other two, Pluto and Saturn, will also be turning direct. And they're all going to remain in relationship to Mars, and then also Mercury is going to come into play. So we got a lot of intense energy taking place and a lot of focus on this dismantling of the structure of society as we know it. The old container is dying, it's being taken apart. All of that process is going to continue. And what we have to remind ourselves and remember, this is actually a birth process. And so in order for something new to be born, something has to die. Every birth is always also a death. Every death is also a birth. It's just hard when we're going through the death process to understand and to hold the awareness that something is being born. We're just not there yet. We're in this process of having to let go, of being restricted, of being restrained, of being constrained. Things will shift and will change, but we've got some intensity over these next couple of months. And if anything, things are going to speed up in terms of the dismantling process happening faster. And I don't use astrology for a tool for prediction, so I don't know how it's going to happen. I didn't know that the initial transformation that was going to take place in 2020, what was going to kick it off was a virus, and then it was going to remain with us for the entire year and longer possibly, and would continue to wreak transformation for us. I didn't know that, but here we are. I didn't know that systemic racism was going to finally come to the forefront of our collective consciousness, but it has. We did know about the election, and we astrologers have known that there was likely going to be some pretty intense issues around the election, and here we are. That's what's happening. So it is going to be a very intense time for the next couple of months, and that's just where we are. And this week is going to be intense. And even in the intensity, there are opportunities for personal growth. We're all here, we're all trying to do the best we can to keep our sanity and to stay afloat during this challenging time. And so what's important for us to understand is that we all have the kind of internal battles going within us that is being manifested out in the external world as well. The external world, people are taking sides, and I think it's important to do that. I think it's important to state where you stand, to know where you stand within yourself, and to let other people know how you feel about things. And sometimes we're afraid to do that because it feels like if we do that, there'll be so much blowback on us that it won't be worth it, and it might even be dangerous in some way. And that sets up a kind of an internal struggle, a kind of a tug of war within us, where we want to transform, we want to change, we want to open up to something new, we want to learn something new, we want to be something new, and yet we don't know how to do it, and so it's frustrating. And one of the things that is helpful sometimes is to look at myth. In Greek and Roman myth, Mars is the god of war. Jupiter is the king of the Mount Olympus. He is the king of the gods. But in the Egyptian myth, which is much, much older than Greek and Roman myth, Mars is Set. And he's an interesting character in that he is the one who kills his brother Osiris. I've told his story before, so I'm not going to go into it a lot right now. And it's easy to look it up. And there's no good reason for this. It's like he wakes up on the wrong side of the bed. He's just not in a good mood. He kills his brother not once but twice. And it could be seen as a grab for power. He apparently feels that his brother Osiris has a better kingdom, has a more beautiful wife, even though his wife and Osiris's wife, they're twins. His wife is Nephthys. Osiris's wife is Isis. And these two are sisters. They're twins. They look exactly alike. You can't tell them apart. So certainly that's not true. But perhaps this is a power grab on the part of Set. Maybe it's just the warrior run amok. Maybe it's just some kind of irrationality on his part. Either way, it's a frightening process. And this is what makes the warrior and action and aggression and anger and assertion, taking a stand. This is what makes it frightening. It's frightening to take a stand because it feels like we might get hurt in some way. Other people take a stand up front because they feel like it's important to do it, or they feel like if they take a stand and let everyone know where they are, that's safer, that they won't get hurt because no one will mess with them. So we all have our different ways of dealing with this. So Set represents that quality of the warrior, run amok, but he is also the warrior that you can count on. He is the loyal protector. You know, there's another myth that I've told before, but it's the one where when Ra goes into the underworld every night, Set goes with him. And when the monster attempts to gobble up Ra, it is Set who kills the monster, who uses every ounce of his warrior strength, his focus, his determination to kill the monster, to cut off all of his 9 heads. And he does that because he loves the earth, and he knows that if the sun doesn't rise, the earth will die. And it is his sacred duty, it is his sole purpose to do this. And so he steps up and does it, even though it's a violent act. You know, the cutting of cords, the moving forward, breaking out of bonds in some way, requires an act that can feel violent. But in order to do that, we have to call upon our warrior. And we have to take that act. You know, birth is messy. You know, that breaking out of the shell, that moving down the birth canal is a messy, violent, intense, passionate process. But in order for birth to happen, that has to take place. Now, in Egyptian myth, Jupiter is the king of the gods, is Horus, the new king. And when Set kills his brother Osiris, Horus is Osiris's son. And Horus feels that with Osiris now dead, his throne is his. Well, Set feels that when he kills his brother, he can take over that throne. And so the two get into a battle. They get into a war. And it is said that this war between the gods takes place for centuries. It's very destructive. They go at each other with great intensity because each of them wants power. Each of them wants to be the sovereign king. And so this war goes on. Now, the war is won by Horus. As the war always has to be won by Horus. New life must win the war. If new life does not win the war, then we descend into depression. We descend into oppression. You know, Set becomes Saturn, Sobek, the old king, who does not want to let go of his throne because he fears the power of the young king, so he won't let it go. So he hangs on for dear life. So Horus has to win this battle. Now, we all have this process within us, and this takes place when we're learning something new, when we're trying on a new attitude, a new perspective, a new point of view, a new way of being, a new behavior, a new action, a new way of presenting ourselves in the world, a new thing that we want to do. We're calling in Horus, and we always have to have that battle with Set, who, you know, the old energy that doesn't want to necessarily let it happen. You know, we're afraid of it. You know, we're afraid he's going to run amok. But, you know, in times like this, I often think of something that I learned, many years ago when I went back to school to study psychology. I was very interested in Jean Piaget, who was a French psychologist who studied children. He liked to watch children, and he would give them tasks because he was interested in how children learn, how all of us learn, you know, how we learn new things. And so he would watch children trying to stack blocks. And these were young kids, you know, 2 years old, who are trying to stack blocks. And, you know, they don't have a lot of motor control yet. And so they're trying to set these blocks on top of each other. And they're having a hard time with it. And they want to get it, you know, so it stands up and doesn't fall over. And it's frustrating for them. And they get angry and they get frustrated. And they knock the blocks over. And they start to cry, you know, because they can't get these blocks to work. But the people who are working with the children would encourage them, just keep trying, just keep trying. And eventually, they would figure out how to stack the blocks. And then they would be so joyful, and they would be so happy because they had figured this out. And then they knew how to do it. They knew how to stack blocks. What Jean Piaget called this moment when you figure out how to stack the blocks. He called this assimilation. We don't have to struggle anymore to learn something new. that knowledge is assimilated. And then it's like we can flip up to a new octave within ourselves because we know, from now on, if we need to stack blocks, we know how to do it, right? We don't have to feel that frustration anymore. That's what that struggle is within us between Set and Horus. And so I want to invite everyone today to go on a journey with Set and Horus and allow them to show you what it is that you're struggling with right now. What it is that you feel frustration about. What new behavior would you like to bring in, that you would like to activate within yourself? But right now you feel blocked. You feel like you just can't do it. Maybe it's a new job. Maybe it's a new way of being. Maybe it's a new behavior. Maybe it's something you want to say. Maybe it's something you want to express. Whatever it might be, some place where you feel like that frustration, that like the warrior run amok, you just can't get there. And we're also going to call in Horus, the young king. And we're going to ask him to share his enthusiasm and his hope for a new day, his new ideas, and allow you to feel like what it would be like if these two resolve their differences and the new king, Horus, steps forth in a new way. So let's go on a journey with Set and Horus, who are so important this next week. These energies of the warrior king and the young king are really stepping to the fore this week of September 7th. So let's take a couple of nice deep breaths. And if you're sitting in a chair, put your feet flat on the floor. If you're lying down, that's fine. Feel the surface that you're lying on beneath you. Feel all the places where your body contacts the surface that you're either sitting upon or lying upon. And take a couple of nice deep breaths. Breathing in fully and exhaling fully. Dropping down into your body. Closing your eyes. And I want you to imagine that you are standing inside of a circle. A circle that contains you. It can be a circle that's drawn in the ground. It can be a circle that's constructed of something, whether it's a hoop that you're standing in that's on the ground, or a wall that's built around you, a low wall. But you're inside this circle. You're in a container. And standing in front of you are two warriors. The one on your left is older, middle-aged, mature, strong, powerful, fierce. This is Set. The one on your right is young, at his first bloom, powerful, agile, lithe, full of energy, full of enthusiasm. He can hardly contain himself. This is Horus. Within you, in some area of your life, these two are at war. I invite first Set to step forth and in some way to make contact with you and to allow you to feel any frustration, any anger, any feelings of restraint, any place where you want to break through, any place where you want to strike out, or you feel held back from that which you want to attain, any place where you feel frustrated around something you want to change, but the time's not right, the conditions aren't right, you're not right, it doesn't feel like it can happen. Just let yourself feel that frustration, that anger, perhaps resentment. Maybe there's some fear mixed in. Listen to Sat. Let him download to you his anger, his frustration that lives within you, the unfairness, the things that aren't right. It's not fair. It shouldn't be like this. This isn't the way you want it. Just listen to Sat. Let him tell you how he's feeling about this situation. Take a nice deep breath. And we're going to ask Set to step back now, and we'll thank him for bringing forth this awareness within you of the frustration, the anger around some area of your life. And take another nice deep breath. And we're going to ask now that Horus step forth, and that in some way he makes contact with you. And we're going to ask him to share with you his enthusiasm, his new ideas, his great desire to move forward, his impatience, his hope, his vision, all his thoughts and ideas and desires, the enthusiasm that he feels about something new, some place he wants to move with you, your hopes, your visions, your desires. Allow Horus to remind you of those, to help you to be in touch with them. So take a minute now, take a nice deep breath, and receive this download from Horus. And take a nice deep breath. And give thanks to Horus. I'm going to ask him to step back now. And I want to remind you what I said earlier. That in this battle within ourselves, new life must win. The battle is dangerous. There are stillbirths. Sometimes the birth doesn't follow through. Sometimes the baby isn't born. Sometimes the chick doesn't make its way out of the egg. But in order to do that, new life must triumph. Horus must win. And so we need Set now to step forward in his maturity, in the best manifestation of the mature king that he can manage. We need him to step forth as the loyal protector who loves you, who is here to protect you. And rather than fight this new piece of you that wants to come forth, he wants to support it. He wants you to find that point of assimilation when the new information comes through. And in order to assist him and to assist the young King Horus, we're going to call in Isis. We've called in Isis at the end of all of these journeys and invited you to lie back in her rainbow wings while she wraps those wings around you and holds you close. And so let's ask Isis to do that once again. But this time, she's going to pull your inner warrior, your Set, and your young king, your Horus. She's going to pull them in too. Pull them in so that they can merge within you, so that they can inform each other, that they can find that place of reconciliation where Set remembers his sacred duty and Horus ascends to his rightful place within you. And you find that hope and enthusiasm for your own new octave of being. You can see that path to that new aspect of you. So I'm going to be quiet for a couple of minutes here and let you experience the magic of Isis. She is a sorceress. She is a magician. Let her work her magic as she weaves these two powerful warriors within you so that you can see how you will move beyond this place of strife within you, and you will find resolution. You will find assimilation of new information that will move you to the next octave of being. Nice deep breath. Lying back in the arms of Isis. You can feel these two coming together within you. The strength of the warrior king. The new life and enthusiasm of the young king. Held in the loving arms of Isis, Queen Mother of Heaven. Take a nice deep breath. Give thanks to all three of these archetypes that live within you. Very gently come back into the room. Thank you. We will talk again.